Have you ever wondered how you can get your aim to the pro level? I will show you some of the most important aspects to improve your aim so you can finally evolve towards being a pro yourself. This video will be an in-depth exploration of aim. Use the chapters to look at the topics that you are working on, but if you are watching this video for the first time, I recommend watching it in its entirety. Sensitivity and preferred way of aiming. So let's start with the sensitivity and your preferred way of aiming. To help you find a good sensitivity for your personal preference, I will lay out some of the factors which will help you tone in your sensitivity, so you can stop searching and begin building muscle memory with it. The first question is, are you a wrist or an arm aimer? The biggest difference is that arm aimers often use slower sensitivity than wrist aimers. I am an arm aimer and I play with a 40 cm or 15.7 inches per 360 sensitivity. My DPI is set to 400. A wrist aimer's sensitivity is typically set to 25 cm or 9.8 inches per 360. To get you started figuring out your personal sensitivity, use this simple trick. Flick between two targets at least 90 degrees apart from each other. The motion for this flick should be smooth and not hectic. If you over-aim multiple times, you will have to slow down your sensitivity until you are on target. If you under-aim, do the same but vice versa. When you're doing this, try to do it intuitively, instead of telling your arm or wrist to stop on the target. Prepare the move in your head before moving your arm and don't correct it while you're moving. When your crosshair lands on the target without you correcting your move, then you found your sensitivity. After that, try doing some 180 degree turns and get as close to 180 degrees as possible. Then hop into a few rounds of the game of your choice with this newfound sensitivity. If you think you have to adjust it, do it right after a few rounds and play some more rounds until you are satisfied. When you're satisfied with your sensitivity, don't change it again for at least 2 weeks. Own it. Changing your sensitivity too much will slow down your development immensely. After you mastered one sensitivity, it's easier to adjust to new sensitivities later on. Eye training. Let's move on to some training you can do to improve your eyes. You can't imagine how big the difference is between someone that has a perfect lock onto their target and someone who's just looking towards their target. If you're able to focus on your target, you can use your hand-eye coordination to its fullest. To train my eyes, I normally use the FPS eye training warm-up video by OTTR. Just follow the instructions he gives in the video and you should be fine. I will link the video in the description. I typically train my eyes 2 times a week. To further the training of your eyes, I can't recommend enough that you focus on your blinking. Try to blink as often as you can without losing out on important information. This will let you play for way longer before your eyes become strained. Stop flicking and start tracking. Flicking is something that might look cool when it's done well, but most of the time it will result in a miss. Instead, go for the safer route and start tracking with all weapons, not just automatic ones. Let's take the Peacekeeper from Apex Legends. A lot of people flick with the Peacekeeper and most of them miss a lot. But now look at the footage of pros playing in tournaments and you will have a hard time seeing a pro flick in a situation where every shot counts. So stop doing flicks if you want to be accurate. Tracking is a very important skill in all shooters. Also, with some training, your smoother transition from one target to the next will be quicker and quicker until it's close to looking like a flick. But for high precision flicking, you will need the foundation of good tracking first. The optimal training routine. Now let's talk about the optimal training routine. For my routine, I normally use Kovaaks. Kovaaks will cost you around $10 on Steam. There's also AimLabs, which is free to download and it's also a good way to get your training started. Let me recommend you some good playlists in both of them. For Kovaaks, I recommend playing the basic, intermediate, advanced and the movement playlist until they feel easy or boring. For Apex players, I also recommend you to play the Apex playlist, the Apex Cyrillics playlist and the Apex Noted playlist. To fine-tune your aim, I recommend playing the Noted Aimbot 2022 playlist. The It's Timmy warm-up is my favorite warm-up on Kovaaks. It challenges you in all the important aspects if you're an Apex player like me. There's one more playlist I can only recommend for Kovaaks. The Pure G Apex Routine. It's a playlist made with Apex in mind, but it's a good playlist overall. I will link the playlist in the description. Now let's move on to Aim Labs. In Aim Labs, my playlists are less fine-tuned, but should still help you to improve. But I highly recommend that you look around for your own needs. The playlists I play if I use Aim Labs are Advanced Aim and Movement by Strafe, DAS Apex Fundamentals, and the Ethos Valorant Warm-up. But I'm sure you will find some good playlists for yourself if you look around. Now that we talked about some of my favorite playlists to use in my routine, let's talk about how your optimal routine should look like. The tips I'm about to give you will enable you to learn any skill up to 20 times faster than normal. Every evening before going to bed, take yourself 30 minutes to an hour to train your aim skills in Aim Labs or Kovaaks. Play the playlists you find challenging so they stress you to the point that you are pushed but not overwhelmed. Turn on some music you hate. Why? Because you will need your brain to be in an alarm mode. You need to be uncomfortable. Then just play your playlists, but keep your session under 90 minutes. I always train for 30 to 60 minutes. When you're done, go take a cold shower to get your body to pump out some adrenaline. Go into bed right after, so you think about your mistakes mid-sleep. Adrenaline will help your brain to manifest what you learned quicker. Alternatively, you can also sit down in a meditate-like manner and think about every mistake you did while training this time. By focusing on your mistakes, your brain will improve in those problem areas quicker. Keep in mind that everything I just recommended is just the optimal way to learn a skill. You can add or remove parts as you like, but try it out for a week and you will shred through your competition. Equipment. Let's talk about your equipment. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but your equipment is also a big part of your aiming abilities. Your mouse and your mousepad are your most important items, which are also the most preferential items. I personally use an Aerox 5 mouse from SteelSeries, and I also use a desk pad from SteelSeries. But one of the models that is used the most by players out there is the Logitech G Pro X Superlight. No matter how much some of you might like their wired mice, get a wireless as quick as possible. I had my biggest equipment-based jump by switching to wireless mice. Another big factor is the space that is available to you. Especially for arm aimers, it is important that you have at least a space of 60 by 40 centimeters or 24 by 16 inches. One thing that helped me create space I needed was to remove the feet of my monitors. My monitors are now hanged on some monitor arms. You can also buy a smaller keyboard, which will also clear up some space for your mouse. As an arm aimer, I also use an arm sleeve. But it's nothing special, it's just a cyclist arm sleeve. An arm sleeve will help you be more consistent with your aiming because your arm has less friction while moving over the mousepad. Something I recently upgraded were my mouse glides. Now I use glass glides, which at first feel weird, but they will make you better in the long run. The mouse has no friction anymore, which allows you to be really precise with micro adjustments and long range tracking. I can recommend glass glides for every aimer, but be aware that you will suck for a few days. You can upgrade your equipment a lot, but equipment is just extra. Skill is something you can improve without having all that fancy stuff. I just recommend that everyone who has money to upgrade their equipment should do so piece by piece. Factors that change your aim. Finally, let's talk about some of the factors that can change your aim from a day-to-day basis. Sleep is probably one of the most important factors here. I know it is tempting to stay awake for longer than you normally should and just play 1 or 2 more rounds, but resting is a very important part. So try to get at least 7 hours of sleep daily. Keeping yourself hydrated is also something you should not write off. If your body is hydrated, it's like a well-oiled machine. I personally drink up to 4 liters of water each day. Crosshairs can also be a factor. A dot-like crosshair is more for precision, while a bigger crosshair is good for speed. So if you're able to adjust your crosshair in-game, I recommend that you do so. But there's also these days where you just think to yourself, why is my aim not good today? Don't let those days get through to you, or it can get even worse. Just take a little break and maybe even take a shower and get yourself a fresh shirt to wear. On some days this might fix your problems, but on others it just won't change. But everyone has those days, so don't take them too seriously. Those were my tips for you to become a better aimer in pretty much every game. If I could help you in any way, shape or form, I would appreciate you leaving a like. And I would appreciate even more if you leave me a comment with the progress you made thanks to this video. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.